If you're someone who keeps your phone on Do Not Disturb all the time, you've probably heard that you're cold, that you're antisocial, that you don't care about people. But you're not cold, you're not antisocial, and you're definitely not incapable of caring. You're doing something most people can't even name. And there's a side to this story that almost no one talks about. There's a moment almost everyone in this group has experienced. Your phone rings, you look at the name on the screen, and you simply don't answer. Not out of anger, not out of disregard. You just can't. And later, when the person asks why you didn't pick up, you try to explain and realize you don't have the right words for it. Because how do you explain that a phone call feels like a burden? That seeing that notification makes you tense before you even know what it is? That the silence of your phone isn't indifference, it's survival? Psychology draws a very specific line when it comes to people who live like this. And most people don't know which side of that line they're on. The naked truth is this. This behavior has a name. It has an explanation. And it's not a character flaw. It's a sign. And in this video, you're going to understand what it's saying. Science has already studied what happens in your brain when a notification arrives, and the data is pretty uncomfortable. According to research by Asurian in 2019, the average smartphone user checks their phone over 96 times a day. 96. That's once every 10 minutes, while awake every single day. And every time that screen lights up, your body reacts. Gloria Mark, a researcher at the University of California, Irvine, discovered that a single interruption costs, on average, 23 minutes of focus for you to completely get back to what you were doing. Not seconds, 23 minutes. The most ignored detail of this dynamic is that every notification triggers a micro-response of cortisol, the stress hormone, even if you don't open it, even if it's just an emoji. Psychology has a name for the state this creates. Dr. Stephen Porges, in 1994, developed the polyvagal theory, which explains how the autonomic nervous system classifies the environment as safe or threatening. The central point of this theory is fascinating. The nervous system does not distinguish a social threat from a physical threat. To it, a message demanding an immediate response and a real danger activate the exact same circuits. The Kaplans in 1989 called the opposing state attention restoration theory. The idea that human attention is a finite resource and that high-demand environments deplete it faster than we can replenish it. Let that information sink in. This isn't exaggerated sensitivity. It's your nervous system working exactly as it was programmed to. Do Not Disturb mode isn't rudeness. It's nervous system management. This is where the dynamic becomes more complex, because not everyone who uses D&D all the time is doing it for the same reason. And psychology identifies three very distinct groups. The question is, which one are you? The first group I'll call the flooded. You probably know this state even if you've never put a name to it. It's when your phone feels like it's always asking for something. Every message is a demand. Every missed call is a debt. And the problem isn't any specific person. It's the accumulation. For the flooded, the nervous system is in a state of chronic alert. Notifications don't arrive as neutral information. They arrive as micro-threats. The brain processes each one of them and accumulates cortisol, even when the message is completely innocuous. Do Not Disturb mode is, for these people, a pressure valve. It's not that they don't want to talk to you. It's that permanent availability costs too much for their nervous system. This isn't avoiding people. It's avoiding collapse. Do you recognize yourself in this? The second group is the focused, and they use D&D in a completely different way. For them, it's a design tool, an intentional decision about when and how to be reachable. John Sweller in 1988 showed that human working memory has a limited capacity. Interruptions don't just break focus, they fragment the structure of thought. It's like trying to put together a puzzle while someone keeps throwing new pieces on the table. Reassembling that structure has a real neurological cost. The focused are reachable, just on their own terms. When they are available, they are completely present, and that makes the connection deeper, not rarer. However, this is where the reflection might cause some discomfort. Because there is a third group. The third group is the walled off. They also keep their phone on Do Not Disturb. But the reason is different. It's not regulation. It's avoidance. A silenced phone isn't a healthy boundary. It's a way of not being available for relational risk. For the walled off, the issue isn't about focus or sensory overload. It's about, what if they need something I can't give? The fear of disappointing, the fear of being demanded of, the fear of being present and still not being enough. D&D, in this case, isn't a door that opens on your terms. It's a wall that never opens. The big blind spot of the third group is this. They usually think they are in the first or the second. Which of the three resonates with you? Hold on to that question. Because before getting to the diagnosis, we need to understand where this pattern comes from. You've probably been called hard to reach, distant, someone who doesn't care. But you're not difficult. You're not hiding. And you're definitely not indifferent. The root of this stance goes much deeper. Imagine this scenario. You were a kid, and there was someone in your life, a caregiver, a parent, someone important, who was emotionally unpredictable. Sometimes present, sometimes absent. Sometimes anxious, sometimes overwhelmed. And you learned early on that being available came at a cost. That answering meant fixing. That existing meant managing someone else's emotional state. Bowlby and Ainsworth's attachment theory shows two paths this experience can create. The first is anxious attachment. The child learns to be hypervigilant to the needs of others, always on high alert for what might be demanded of them. The second is avoidant attachment. The child learns that distance is protection, that being unavailable is the only way not to be consumed. The crucial detail in all of this is that both paths can lead to the exact same behavior. Having your phone on Do Not Disturb all the time, with completely different motivations. For one, it's the exhaustion of someone who has already given too much. For the other, it's the fear of someone who learned that to give is to lose. The nervous system doesn't forget what being available cost. Every time you ignore a notification and feel that sense of relief, your nervous system is confirming a belief you learned long before you even owned a phone. That availability is danger. That being reachable means being vulnerable. This isn't weakness. It's memory. It's your brain trying to protect you from something that, at some point, was completely real. Do you recognize yourself in either of these paths? And now we come to the question this entire video has been building toward. Is your silence a choice or a cage? Because there's a fundamental difference between a boundary and a wall, and it's the most important difference you'll hear today. A boundary is a door. It opens on your terms, when you're ready, when you choose to. It protects your ability to be present. When you open that door, you are actually there. A boundary says, I am available and I decide when. A wall doesn't open. It doesn't distinguish between who drains you and who sustains you. It doesn't protect your ability to connect. It eliminates the possibility of connection. Do not disturb, as a boundary says, I need silence right now, and when I come back, I'll be whole. Do not disturb, as a wall says, I don't want to be found by anyone, because being found is dangerous. Is your D&D a boundary you've set or a wall you hide behind? This isn't a judgmental question. It's a diagnostic one, because the difference isn't in the behavior. It's in what happens inside you when someone needs you and you decide not to answer. Do you feel peace? Or do you feel relief mixed with guilt? Peace belongs to those with boundaries. Relief mixed with guilt belongs to those with walls. Which one is yours? Only you know. At the end of the day, the conclusion is liberating. You're not cold, you're not rude, you're not antisocial, and you are definitely not broken. You are part of a small group of people who learned the hard way that true presence is worth more than permanent availability. This isn't a personality flaw. It's having awareness of your own nervous system. It's understanding, before most people do, that your attention is a resource, not a permanent obligation. If your silence is a space where you recharge and from which you return more whole, that's protection. That's wisdom. If your silence is a place you never leave, that's a sign. Not that you're difficult, But that something still needs healing. You have permission to keep your phone on Do Not Disturb. You have permission to control your own terms of availability. You have permission to not always be accessible. And you also have permission to ask yourself, honestly, if what you're protecting still needs that protection. Leave a comment telling me the last time you let a call go to voicemail and felt zero guilt. I read them all. Protect your peace.